Okie dokie. Testing real quick, seeing if we're working yet. Seemed like there was a little bit of a delay there. Let's see, are we up and going? If so, just a moment while the page reloads. Connect your encoder to start preview, but it should already be going. Okay, there we go. It's alive. It lives. There's a lot more than I can say for my old car. Anyway, well, our old car. But anyway, so hello, every folks, and good evening. So the thing for today was put up to a bit of a poll, basically just to see what folks were interested in. And it seems like today we are going to be doing some One Vision. So for those unfamiliar with what on earth this thing is, this is basically the finest mod that you will ever see for anything. Effectively an overhaul mod that in many ways overshadows the sort of official remake here of this game in particular. So, this is going to be the essentially based off of the PSP version to an extent, but that's a little bit of a misleading story. Also, why on earth is my chair not moving? It's stuck for some bizarre reason. Okay. There we go. Get all situated over here. Apparently, starting these things a bit off the cuff is not the smartest idea. Who'd have thunk it? Okay. So basically, when it comes to One Vision, it's kind of a fascinating realization of just kind of everything that people wanted out of, like, let's say, FFT, off of the original Tactics Ogre, the Tactics Ogre remake, stuff like that. In fact, last stream, we were actually talking about how, in many ways, it's a lot easier to just simply go to One Vision than to try and ask for One Vision to come out on Reborn there, seeing as most of the features that Reborn added, at least to some extent, have actually been backported into the mod, rather than the other way around. But anyways, we'll be discussing more on that as we go along. Hello there, Von Drew. How is it going? Hope you're having a good evening. As always, apologies for the sort of random kind of time that this ended up popping out as. You know, schedule is a bit nuts, as it always tends to be. Today was originally supposed to be a bit more of a heavy work day, and then pretty much exactly what you're seeing in the background here happened. Just a thunderstorm rolled through town that made it a bit dangerous to go around places, so there's that. Let's see, is this better than Final Fantasy Tactics? Yeah, that is an understatement. Anyway, let's go ahead and we'll cover that as we go along. But yes, very much so. Like, generally speaking, when it comes to One Vision, like, it's I would take it basically over any version of FFT any day of the week, and it's not even close, mostly because most of the stuff that I was interested in FFT is already here, including things like, let's say, Geomancers, including things like, surprisingly enough, even most of the stuff that Triangle Strategy managed to actually do uniquely. Yeah, that ended up landing here as well. But as far as FFT goes, basically it's weapon options, it's class options, whatever else, all those were put in here. But that is just kind of scratching the tip of the iceberg here. But, you know, we'll get to that as we go along here. Also, as far as the wheel situation, Von True, yeah, it seems to be, anyway. Yeah, it turns out we had a really weird situation over where we're at. Basically, for some reason, so the issue turned out to be that the intersection where the accident had happened last week, I actually ended up reaching out to the city over it, because that should not exist. We basically have a light that is able to be green from both directions for about 4 seconds. So that was kind of inevitable. It's like, at first, I've been questioning my sense of reality over the course of the last week. Like, I know what I saw. I know that the turn should have been doable there, because basically I got hit from behind while doing a turn. Like, I don't understand what on earth happened there. And then I hear screeching yesterday when I'm driving by, like, going to that same intersection. And yeah, sure enough, somebody else almost gets into the exact same crash, because it says turn left and go ahead from the opposite side at the same time. So that's fun. Anyway, yeah, if you're if you're anywhere in the Grand Rapids area, just be careful. Just be careful around 44th. Anyway, so let's go ahead and get back to this thing here. So, for the folks that are around, how familiar are any of y'all with One Vision? Just to kind of know where we're starting from here today. See if we're starting completely from basics. If we're you know, if we're trying to kind of cover the typical, you know, oh crap, I got stuck in Chapter 2 crowd. That is why we're starting at Balmamusa here today. But yeah, let me know. All right. But yeah, while we're waiting on that, so as far as One Vision goes, yeah, it's, as far as I'm concerned, this is, by a not even remotely close metric, not only the best SRPG mod out there, but in many ways the best SRPG out there, period. Just entirely just off its own merits. Like, as far as even versions of Tactics Ogre goes, like I've regularly said, I've gone back and forth between this and Reborn all the time, largely because occasionally, you know, I want the sort of like kind of Pokemon-esque stuff that Reborn did, but most of the time I'm playing One Vision. Most of the time it's on a Vita, which was actually what the original plan was going to be here today, and then I got the settings kind of sort of not awful on PPS's PP, so this kind of looks okay today. Hopefully that continues to happen. But basically what this does is that it adds all the things that people wanted from, you know, again, various different kind of adaptations from stuff throughout the genre, but additionally puts its own twist on what Tactics Ogre was to begin with. The sort of example that I've used of this one before is that while, let's say, Reborn is all about letting you experience the story through the emotions of the people telling it, this one essentially allows you to experience the world through the dirt underneath your feet, where absolutely everything is a mechanic that matters. Stuff that oftentimes will get complained about in the official versions, things like accuracy kind of being a bit of a odd topic in general, not only for Reborn, but throughout the entire series. Like, I kid you not, every official entry into the series, there have been complaints about how accuracy is handled and how every other version, you know, allegedly handled it better, despite it always somehow being contentious no matter what they do. Because, you know, back in SNES, it was all about the stats and the footing. Then we had the PSP version where it was all about stacking particular passives. And then we had Reborn, where they're just like, fuck it, everyone can hit everything all the time unless something interacts with it. Whereas in One Vision, what we have is basically immersive sim levels of absolutely everything going on here. So, for example, let's say in this particular situation here, we could have gone for a sneak attack there, but we're just kind of going for some additional stealing type stuff here. The accuracy is very heavily affecting all the archers on this map currently, most of whom are going to have some pretty awful odds to actually hit anything. When it comes to the armor each individual unit is wearing, all of that is modeled down to a T. So, for example, Mr. Knight Guy over here, rocking around with a vest and helmet. Helmets in general are going to help you in the magic defense category. Vests just allow you to be nimble, move around a little bit easier, provide a decent bit of armor. With swords in general being more of an accuracy option. In many ways, you can see many of these options kind of similar to something like Battle Brothers if you have played that one before. Heavier armored units are generally going to be a lot more difficult to deal with in a direct manner, but typically are very vulnerable to things like debuffs. So either way, again, we will address those as we carry along here. But everything, and I do mean absolutely everything that you see around you, will essentially be modeled out to a different degree. All right, let's go ahead and get rid of this guy over here. As far as skills are concerned, let's see. Oh, hi there, Xavier, I believe is how that's going to go ahead and be pronounced today. Glad to see you there as well. Let's see, I think I can say that I hopefully understand the mindset for OP. Well, hopefully so, because, yeah, we're just kind of diving straight into it today, apparently. All right. But yeah, the mindset is basically everything is parts of the simulation, and that's a ton of fun. It's what makes this version just endlessly replayable. Like, literally, it's not even just the story. Like, obviously, this game has been known for its ridiculously replayable story for a while, but the sheer absurdity of the amount of classes and options that you have available in this one make it to where you can just make slight class adjustments, and it already just feels like an entirely different playthrough just right then and there. So yeah, it's a good time. Let's see, just so you know, it's the 2nd anniversary here for SOC. Would you ever do a stream of that again? Yes, I would. Yes, I absolutely would. I don't remember what day the actual 2nd anniversary is. I've actually been recently getting into that one myself. We probably would be covering a bit more of it here today, you know, if it weren't for the whole we're just gonna say it's been an interesting week situation. Yeah, most of any and all free time has been spent basically going and trying to make any additional dollars possible over the course of the last week. So, you know, definitely a lot more One Vision on the mind here. But to get back to the sort of topic at hand here, every single class in this mod here is basically a realized version of, again, just sort of like a greatest hits of everything that's been around from the genre in general. So, for example, a lot of people liked to use Fencers as more of a item support class back in the PSP version, because the class itself was pretty, like, shockingly mediocre for how ridiculously good it is in Reborn back in the PSP version. But yeah, the One Vision version essentially kind of marries those two ideas, having them still be the infinite caster, but having that role serve completely differently, being less of a direct kind of like ranged spam powerhouse, and more of a theoretically they can do the whole area spam thing, but they're typically more of a support unit with pretty much the entire magic tree in general just being redone to give all the elements a lot more flavor. So for example, like let's say with a wind guy or something along those lines, you would have them, let's say, grant people the ability to fly with stuff like ninjas, which are available in Chapter 1 at this point. You can do stuff like ambush somebody with double debuff weapons and then knock them out with a smoke bomb. Every single unit is going to have stuff like this going on. Alright. Like, for example, with whips here, essentially they're a type of weapon that's used to wrench a weapon out of somebody's hands. So we can actually kind of do a reference to the PSP version by sacrificing a Hawkman to allow Mr. Canopus here to avoid switching out of his unique Farton class. Since that is unique now, turn on a regeneration move and then essentially disable somebody's accuracy from behind, effectively kind of ruining the arm of that knight over there. Alright. I will mention, though, one thing that does oftentimes get misunderstood about this one. It's not some extreme difficulty mod. Everything is just a lot more interactive. So, like, if you are paying attention to the mechanics around you, you're typically going to have about the same difficulty level as something like Reborn. But you are going to have a lot more knobs to turn, so to speak. So, for example, let's say somebody with something as simple as a dagger over there. This is actually a build you'll see regularly throughout the game here. Where, like, let's say you give a dagger over to somebody like a Spellblade, you essentially have a unit that might be a good sort of disabler, combining in a guaranteed debuff ability in the form of, I'd assume this guy was probably carrying Fated Circle, yes. So let's say you have something like this. This is the equivalent of the old Sure Strike abilities. So essentially what this does is that it's a cheap AoE move that guarantees the effect of any weapons that they have. They're generally not a very heavy weapon hitter, but let's say they carry around a dagger, which has a small chance to cause a bind effect. So essentially just a small chance to go hamstring somebody with this knife. Not a very powerful weapon, but a very lightweight weapon, and the secondary version of this thing actually has the ability to be useful as a sort of a casting tool. However, in this particular case, he went for this hamstringing dagger here, which allowed him to go and disable my ninja over there. Potentially, you might combine this in with something like a bash ability, so essentially they disable and knock backwards whenever they go and attack someone. You can get really technical with these things. Here is generally what people really enjoy about this one. Okay. Let's see. If I had to do the elevator pitch, it'd be the TT RPG experience that Lux never realized, with the rebalance and quality of life stuff to boot. I mean, basically, yeah, it's if you wanted the tabletop experience combined together with, like, basically just near Deus Ex levels of immersive sim elements, then yeah, that's basically what we got going on here. Because as much as the official version wanted to add as much of this stuff as they'd hoped. Like, it's crazy to think that even the official version looked at this mod and was like, yeah, we're never going to be able to do that. So they went for the full board game approach, which is absolutely fair because this mod took a bit over a decade so far to actually get to where it is. But yeah, for those that are unfamiliar, like when it came to Reborn there, like it's not like they had an unlimited amount of time or budget. They kind of just had to throw together what they could with what they had. And so like One Vision's just like the community kept throwing ideas at Rakes, and as new discoveries kept being made over what the engine could do, he kept adding new things on there and then reporting back on just weird things that he ended up finding. And it's over the course of this mod's development that we ended up getting some of the coolest discoveries as far as the series is concerned. So, for example, where we had things like, let's say, the sort of combination between guaranteed effects causing a secondary effect to appear, that was theorized but not really proven until this mod had added essentially a sudden insta-kill move during one of its patches, and it worked every single time. It's like, oh, hey, so we can absolutely confirm that it is definitely this thing that happened. You know, when it came to things like how the AI works and sort of understanding when they have delays, you know, how they potentially function. When it comes to what things are actually bugs and which things are actually features, most of that stuff ended up being, to at least some degree, discovered because of this mod and its development. So, anyway. Yeah, we got a lot of really cool stuff. And yeah, just so you know, there's absolutely no stupid questions here today. The whole point of this stream is basically if anyone has any questions, feel free to ask them and hopefully get them answered. Because there's obviously a lot of things that can potentially be asked about here. Can I get you close enough to be able to chuck this? I don't think this angle is going to work. But we're going to go ahead and give it a go. Nope. Worth it. Worth a go. At least we'll let him go for an instill here. So, quick little rundown, by the way. Because I was thinking to make this its own video at some point, but just to give you an idea as far as stuff that was backported into the mod once Reborn ended up coming out. So, for example, things like the element system, while it's not directly in here because the PSP version didn't have that element system, what we have is vastly stronger averse effects. So typically if somebody's made averse, you know, that's going to end up causing that particular effect. There are some interactions, I don't remember exactly which ones off the top of my head, that potentially cause a similar effect as far as kind of like that same averse is causing certain issues kind of thing. Buffs in general ended up getting buffed in this one, though again, due to the fact that the system works differently, they feel different. So for example, I think it was like 15% of a offense increase from Breach or something like that in the original PSP version. I think this one's up to like 40 or something. Reborn is somewhere like 50%, but it also has to be mentioned that, again, the context for both of these is very, very different. Things like for example, ninjas having a stop instead of a bind, they actually have both in this particular instance. So that's a neat little thingy over there. As well as, for example, things like items that being able to be used by anybody was actually something that One Vision had done years before. It was actually one of those weird little frustrations that was around for the PSP version, that everyone basically had to be a practiced pharmacist in order to be able to use their dang items. It's like, oh, hey, I'm sorry, I need to use this item. You're too stupid to use a Band-Aid, sir. You're going to have to go invest in Field Alchemy 3 in order to be able to teach somebody to eat grapes. So, yeah, it was a bit of a thing. Also, thank you, Esteros. Appreciate it. I haven't climbed a mountain anytime recently, but I'll take your word for it. Also, apparently goodbye. Nice to see you there. So let's see, speaking of throwing ideas at Rakes, been trying to learn some simple war games, and now I have the itch of a Centurion-like class. Right now I have nothing but barely connected ideas. I mean, that's basically what the Death Knight is. So there was a class that was added for Diebold a while ago. If you... it's one of these ones that's kind of route unique. So, like, if you kill Diebold, I believe, you get it for Denim. If you go about it some other means, then you can actually get it for Diebold himself. But the idea is basically like a Necromancer Commander sort yeah, is for Diebold and Denim there. Kind of like a combination of Terror Knight and Necromancer in one thing. Same thing with, like, Ravnus and Hamilton, essentially getting a shared version of what is effectively the Divine Knight from FFT combined with, God, I don't even know what the hell else you'd call that a combination with. it's basically a combination of a whole bunch of these sort of like laser sword knight type variants, but done in a way that just sort of feels more appropriate to this setting. Okay. Let's see. Yeah, go over there. We're just going to go ahead and sneak this guy. So a quick little thing, by the way, for those that never used sneak back in the original PSP version, can't blame you, but also, it's essentially a move that's supposed to be like if you can exploit somebody's lack of defenses, or at least lighter defenses, you can potentially make a heavy hitter out of somebody with one of the most non-heavy hitting weapons around. It's kind of situational. Right now I'm just kind of having her run around just backstabbing people for the hell of it, since there's nothing really too nuts going on here. See, well, it's like a heavy necromancer support thingy. Yeah, I mean, it's, again, it's a weird one to describe without trying it for yourself, but it's a fun class, especially, I mean, like, I love how much more worth it the elemental temples are in this one. It's not like, oh, the Apocrypha is going to be good. It's like, no, here's multiple different classes. here's several different versions to manipulate the weather. Here's just all kinds of different means to just completely remake your entire arsenal. Like, one thing that One Vision does is just be a never-ending treasure trove of new things to discover. It's like, even if you've been playing this for years, and specifically even just the mod for years, it's just, there's just always more stuff. It's great. But there's a lot of little touches in this one that bring in the best of all of the entire series. Like, personally, my favorite stuff is the things they brought in from Night of Lotus. Like, for example, there are going to be certain kind of specific drops on people for things like movement items. So, for example, like greased boots basically work like they do in KOL. You know, you get your floaty boots early. You get a lot of your... if you decide to go to specific locations early, you try to do trickier stuff early, you typically get a lot more rewarded for exploration in this one. Basically, everything has a double purpose. Like over here, the squash move, aka that skill that nobody ever fucking used in any of the official ones, not only is used for basically kicking somebody backwards to knock them off balance, making them a lot easier to hit, but also can be used for breaking every single type of obstacle instead of just, you know, a pumpkin. Who the hell is going to waste an entire slot on a frickin' pumpkin? That one I never understood. Because, like, every single version, they're like, no, somebody will want to destroy this pumpkin, you guys. But what does Matsuno have against pumpkins? What don't we know? But yeah, basically, again, everything's an interaction. Like, I love this little pipeline early on in Chapter 1, where they give you a thief in the form of Sarah. Instead of just being another generic archer, she's basically a thief. She's your first rogue, rather. She has a tendency to come dagger and buckler instead of, you know, her classic crossbow and bow. She also looks like Orson from KOL, but like a female version of that. But additionally, if you go around and steal from a lot of the sort of like smaller time, you know, bosses, sub-bosses, that kind of thing, what you'll typically find is stuff like this, where the Crystallos ore, instead of just being another craftable, is basically a thing that you can use to instill somebody at a distance. So, for example, say I wanted to go instill her over there, I could go take my item throwing guy, go throw one of these crystals on her, and suddenly not only is she training elements, but she's hitting a bit harder. So it's just this great way to sort of like create a almost like temporary cross-classing of sorts. It's really fun. Let's see, can you show opening One Vision? I want to make sure mine's still right lucked when I choose new game. Yeah, because it's still going to say the same thing. So the HD mod, I don't know if they ever changed that particular thing. I mean, I can't show you the main screen if you'd like. I do have the HD mod on here right now. That's the only thing that actually changes what the opening looks like. It is still the same game. It's just, you know, the One Vision overhaul. The main place you'll actually see where it's different is going to be like right here, where let's say you have something like this, where you would have it show up in the save screen. But yeah, the opening screen will still be the same. The first way to officially know if you've started everything properly is actually going to be Kashua's pants. If they are blue, you're good. So yeah, and then Mr. Hamilton will show up in gold armor as a reference to, you know, March of the Black Queen. So there's that. Also, hi there, Von Drew. Also, hello there, Bringer RPGs. How's it going? Yeah, telltale sign of the mod being active is Cashua having blue pants. Exactly! She has embraced the jeans! The very baggy jeans. So there's that. And then you can typically tell from there because absolutely everything else is different too. So that's all well and nifty. Now, for anyone that is unfamiliar with, you know, the difference between these versions, why did people, generally speaking, have a bit of a thing bouncing off of the PSP version? There were a lot of little annoyances about that one. A lot of things that are not really deal breakers in their own right, but the kinds of stuff that if it was just corrected, if it was just slightly adjusted, would improve things quite a decent bit. So, for example, it started going down that whole road of like, let's say, having accuracy affected by the weather and the ground and, you know, and weight and stuff like that. And then it mattered for about the first chapter. And then after that, if you didn't have a true strike skill or true flight skill or anything along those lines, you were in trouble. And if you did have those, you just never missed a hit again. So, like, it started, but it just never carried that idea forward. Or they had the idea to have everyone training up all these different skills and such, but then at the same time, immediately kind of threw that under the bus by making them go up extremely slowly to avoid anybody going up too fast. On top of that, we got the little weird incongruity that the North American and Japanese releases had totally different balance, but that's just kind of whatever. Anyway. So, point is, it was a case where it was interesting to train skills, but also it became really tedious really quickly. It became interesting that you could craft different potential options, but the way that it was implemented didn't make a lick of sense. So, essentially what One Vision did was, yeah, it took all those, like, hundreds of disparate ideas that never went anywhere and did something with them. And then it just proceeded to continue doing that for years. So that's kind of where we're at now, where we have situations like, for example, the automatic instills in something like like Reborn is pretty fun. It started here. You know, something like having guaranteed abilities is pretty darn fun as long as they're not super expensive and then nobody wants to use them. Something like back attack is a fun idea. It sure would be neat to be able to utilize its ability to take advantage of different situations in a way that made sense. So, for example, Reborn's idea was to leave it as is and make it free, and then make a bunch of other skills that were also free that did the same thing but better. So instead of that, what we have is perception, for example. This is probably one of the most valuable skills in the entire game. It's just back attack repackaged, where essentially, due to the fact that everyone's accuracy is determined by their armor, by their evasion, stuff like that, something like this matters quite a bit more because now you have a cheap way to suddenly, you know, make it count as if an attack is going to hit from the back. The thing that is unique about back attack to begin with is that it was a skill specifically based around the idea that it interacts with everything. Not everything interacts with everything, but it specifically gets a chance to interact with everything. And so what this does is that it means it can work for ranged units, for melee units, for finishers, everything. You know, even to spellcasters to some degree, depending on how they're doing it, you know, different skills, all that sort of thing. So, for example, right here, you know, normally back attack was too expensive in PSP, or it just simply was unnecessary in Reborn, and so in this particular case, it is perfectly set up to be exactly useful in this kind of situation right here. It's just that little gap of accuracy that you need to meet. You know, don't quite have the numbers to meet it another way, so that's how you do it. Or, for example, little things like, for example, a build that is dual wielding always has an issue where if they knock a unit backwards, you know, they might potentially knock the unit out of range. And so, for example, something like this allows you to set up little traps for them. Okay, anyway. Let's see. Been working on a Spanish translation of One Vision, been really smooth. Well, awesome. I'm sure lots of the Spanish-speaking folks will be glad to hear about that. I don't know how many there are, though I will say people do occasionally leave comments in Spanish, so I'm sure there have to be some. So that's awesome. Also, a bunch of other little things, like, for example, Recruit. It is a rankable skill in this version, as well as it was back in the PSP version, but the neat thing is you can practice things in ways that are technically exploitable, but in an understandable degree. So, for example, let's say Mr. Neil over here, if he's stuck in place, you know, he can still take that time to go and just talk to people around him to raise his recruit skill. He's just making himself better at talking. It's kind of nifty, you know? Although right now he's a little bit stuck and his limited magical abilities are not enough to fix everybody's broken legs, so he's going to have to wait for the cleric for that. That's actually the other thing. Spells got redone in such a complete manner that they all have basically different, sort of different tiers and roles and whatever else. So, for example, something like fixing a broken leg is going to be beyond a knight, who no longer has a healing ability, but instead has several different sort of first aid abilities of sorts. In many ways closer to FFTA's paladin or something along those lines. But instead, let's say, can just order somebody to basically suck it up and get Fortify and Renewal instead. So instead of healing somebody, they just sort of motivate them to go a little bit farther. I also forgot to give Kashua some of her other abilities here. You might also notice that certain units that are normally not controllable are absolutely controllable in this instance, since if it makes sense, you are given control over somebody. So, like, let's say Kashua will listen to you, but somebody like Ravnus or Leonard won't. Because, you know, they outrank you. Why the hell would they listen to you? But somebody like Kashua or Vice, yeah, I mean, you're a team. Why the hell can't you coordinate? Alright, there we go. Also, there's a bunch of inbuilt stuff, like, for example, poison shurikens on your ninjas, or throwing items on rune fencers, or throwing stones being more of a warrior thing because they're closer to the FFT squire, whereas somebody like a knight would be too honorable, although there were a lot of people that absolutely were demanding that they add in a pommel throw. Just to address the old "end them rightly" meme. Let's see. Language barrier has been hurdled recommending this. I mean, all right, for the Spanish community, I would absolutely understand that because there's definitely quite a bit to read and learn. So fair enough. I don't know how big that particular community is, but that's awesome work that you're doing there. All right, let's see. Editing hex code manually, pretty complicated. Dang, it's going to take a minute. See, I guess depends on how you're doing it, who's need to have, whether or not it can help those, using the Reborn script as base. Oh, yeah, I mean, I would have assumed they probably would have at least had a basic script to work off of, no? Genuinely, I have no idea. Was this game ever officially translated to Spanish? Because, I mean, I know it's come up a few times, but I don't know. Like, I would have assumed they would have gone off the, well, hell, I actually come to think of it, yeah, I don't think the PSP version did get a Spanish translation, did it? Jeez, I guess, I don't really think about that often. But yeah, I mean, I'm sure you're already in the WinVision Discord. That's mostly where all that stuff ends up getting kind of posted. See, is there any documentation on replacing tests or how to do it? As far as I know, Rakes was messing around with it. There are a few times when it was used, but I don't know how extensive all that got. It's the only Reborn got officially translated as far as I know. Yeah, that's what I thought. There might also be somebody over on Moogles and Mods, if you want to look that up. Or if anyone has a link to that. Because, yeah, I'm sure they would probably be the ones to have that sort of translation on hand. If there would be anyone around. Specifically Spanish from Spain. Oh, yeah, also true. See, do Swordmasters get all the swords? Yes, they get all edge-type weapons, basically. So they get one-handed swords, two-handed swords, both katana types, which have additional subtypes in between. Bastard swords, I'm pretty sure they get daggers. But I think for that one, they have to be trained with them in some other class first. So this is the only version, by the way, just to clear this particular bit up real quick. People like to bring up this thing saying, oh, you could cross-class in the PSP version. BS, you could not cross-class in the PSP version. It felt like you could, but you couldn't. It was a very often misremembered thing. This is the only one with like true cross-classing in the series. So for example, like right over here, actually I'm doing that with Kanopus right now. He normally can wield whips, but he cannot learn the skill to use whips because of the fact that it's supposed to be a warrior thing. So if you miss out on the sort of extra objective early on to get more Vartan marks, you lose access to the Vartan if you try to switch him out to get whips. It's actually one of the very few that was, I believe, intentionally left in as a reference to the PSP version. But yeah, there's actually quite a few cases of units potentially having kind of interesting cross-classing options that don't necessarily come up that often. So, for example, somebody trained as a warrior that already knows how to use a sword, or let's say you had somebody that was running bastard swords or something, and you were wondering, hey, this might work pretty darn well, having them do the whole sneak attack thing. Combine some high movement equipment, combine them in with the ability to sneak attack. Bastard swords got a pretty good bonus on there. That could be pretty nifty. You can do that. Most of the time it's weapon skills that are carried over in this particular way, but it does give a nice little nod to whenever somebody wants to keep their sort of weapon proficiencies going in a new career, considering that units will typically stick to a class a lot longer in this version, considering that they typically get a lot more out of each particular category. So, for example, like using a spear isn't just a spear. A spear is going to be a one-handed spear, two-handed spears, long pikes, short pikes, spellcasting tridents. Like, every category has a bunch of different types. Axes, you got your standard breaching axes. They're your standard ones. You got your heavy variants. You have the ones that'll slow stuff down. Bows, they get short bows, long bows, medium bows, siege bows. You get your stabs. Some are for casting, some are for fighting. This one's a defensive parrying staff because this guy's more of a negotiator. With books, they can read their books in order to meditate when they don't have the meditate skill. Use those as a bonus for certain skills. Use those the book bonus as a way to get ridiculously good at recruiting things. So, for example, say somebody's carrying 2 books of herpetology and has cokes. Before they've even ranked the skill up, they've probably already got like 90% odds to recruit any lizard they run across. So it's pretty great. Let's see. Only playing in English. Easier to look up in terms and resources and such, but I plan to start a new save just to play in Spanish with Japanese voices. That has got to be a very interesting experience. This is not meant as a... There was a weirdly specific memory that just came to mind of like my daughter flipping through random stuff in her iPad, and she had subtitles on for like, I think like, I don't know, Cambodian or something, and then like the guy, it was Puss in Boots screaming in Spanish, except it was like Mexican Spanish, I think, but it was jarring. But that must be one hell of a run. Let's see, I only made it to chapter 1 on Marcus so far, but instantly clocked in just how Casher's voice reeks of desperation. Yes, she is very dramatic. Let's see, playing English for convenience. Gotcha. Okay, now, let us go ahead and continue on here. See if this Iron Man run dies right here. But... I remember I was planning to change something or other, but then I started a SNES run and totally blanked on that. Alright, by the way, for those unfamiliar, quick little explanation here. Why in the fudge do we have a Necromancer already? There's a lot of stuff that you can do in Chapter 1. This actually isn't even the full list of classes you can get in Chapter 1, because, yeah, there's no shortage of classes whatsoever. Even if we go to the store right now, we should be able to get a whole bunch of them. Also, hang on one quick second here. Be right back. Okie dokie. Yes, to the couple of folks that were asking, yes. Sorry, I stepped away for a moment. Life stuff and whatever else. Alright. Yes, exactly. Exactly. Well, again, would you like me to say that, or what? No, it's all good.
Yeah. You're gonna have to let me.
You did not get a concussion.
No, because you came and helped me.
I know.
It's
Okay.
I'm
All right.
just gonna tell them how sweet and kind you are.
I appreciate it very much. Your hair is very wet, though. All right.
Hi guys. Potatoes.
Probably way too bad.
Sorry, Potatoes' girlfriend. He had to help me because I have major balance issues and I'm on crutches. Sorry for taking him away from you guys. Here he is.
Anyway, hi. So, let's, okay, where were we on this whole some such tree? Okay, right. So, the plan was, what I was trying to get at was this whole deal right here, okay? Like, one of the cool things that OV did in this particular case is, like, the sheer amount of options that were there just in, like, Chapter 1, right? So, pretty much everything that's already in the party is stuff that you already could have accomplished. Like, right from the very get-go, you immediately get access to TKs early, which allows for getting stuff like skeletons and whatnot early, which is the only reason that a pacifist run of this one is actually possible, because you can go and immediately go and get yourself okay, sorry, correction, not that, this, okay? These guys are able to get you things like Umbras, so those are going to be orcs and imps. Then you have stuff like necromancers over there, which you can go pickpocket from Nybeth, which then allows you to get skeletons, which then allows you to then go get anatomy on somebody, which then can be combined together with recruit, which then allows you to actually recruit the ridiculously high loyalty people that are showing up over in Balmamusa doing the whole genocide thing, which is part of the reason that the pacifist run of this thing ended up getting softlocked some time ago, because I completely forgot to go pick up a skeleton. I was like, oh, I'm just going to do this with lizards. They don't get anatomy yet, which actually was another one of those interesting changes that came up in this version here, which is that anatomy, and this is going to seem very oddly specific for anyone that's never played the PSP version before, but essentially you cannot have your own racial type in almost all situations as far as the ability to learn this skill. The reason that this was an issue is because they became the most obvious, like, you never take this off thing ever. But yeah, the thing that would come up in PSP, though, is just you never took off anatomy. It's just the skill that made you ridiculously overpowered the second you put it on, and then it never stopped getting better. So essentially what's around in this particular version is that, yeah, you cannot use your own, but this means that there's a reason to actually use different racial types. You're not using lizards because you got bored of people, you're using lizards because, well, their advanced classes are not only unique to them, but also have interesting interactions when it comes to having them fight different things. You pick up orcs because they allow you to potentially put back anatomy on things like a Terranite. You potentially can get all these classes not only dramatically earlier, but they're usually able to do a lot of different things. So you essentially have like double to potentially triple the amount of available tools available at any given time, including things like getting rogues in the river map very early on in Chapter 1. Okay, anyway, sorry. I just find that really, really neat because you can get like friggin' 25-something classes into Chapter 1, for crap's sake. Alright, let's see. Hi there, Potato. Just finished the campaign for the first time. Thank you for showing me this amazing game. Super underrated. You guys made it so much more smooth and a fun experience. Glad to help, dude. Which version did you play, out of curiosity? Since today we are covering the One Vision overhaul. And everyone else is discussing mods off in the background. Guess we're doing mods on mods today, apparently. Okay. So let's go ahead and get back to it. Get ambushed by Aerosol here in a bit of a second. By the way, ignore the square on the bottom right. The emulation square cannot hurt you. It isn't real. We pretend it's not there. I'm shocked that it has been over a decade of that emulation square, and it's still there. Like, just of all the oddly specific things, we have HD mods for this thing. We have like 20 different types of upscaling available. We've got filters on filters on filters. We've got this thing running on dang near everything short of a toaster, and yet for some reason the emulation square cannot disappear. It's weird. I wish it would. It's nothing to do with the HD mod. It's just always there no matter what. Alright. Sneak Ninja Lady over here. By the way, if you're wondering what's up with the one cleric that looks different to the other cleric, Felicia is actually technically a hidden character. To some degree. If you let Donalto die in the intro, Felicia is your replacement. The joke being that back in the SNES version, she actually was basically his more or less flunky student, was sort of the implication there, because she joined you with a copy of Exorcism but couldn't actually use it, since the basic cleric class can't actually use it in that one. So in this particular case, instead of being a backup, free cleric and whatnot, instead she actually ends up joining as a ninja, just kind of dressed as a cleric. So that's kind of her unique thing here. The unique generics rather, ended up actually getting sort of unique stuff in this one, seeing as far as the game is concerned, the reason that they're kept generic is because they're basically meant to be self-insert characters, where Matsuno had mentioned at one point that Leonard, originally Leonard, then Leonor, was supposed to be him, and so he's just like giving you some units, because in the classic version, there's a pretty decent chance you're going to have a few casualties as you're starting the game up. So yeah, he just kind of gave you free replacement units. They looked just like generic units, but they were technically unique, which were Sarah and Voltaire, as well as possibly Felicia at the very start, with Donalto being actually unique, and then he gave you Chamos, Tamuz, and Festa later on if you went down the neutral route. Sort of the cop-out for the fact that the game will now insult you for the rest of your playthrough. Anyway. Let's see, what did I miss here? See, I remember a video from like 10 years ago of you getting excited getting spears for mini classes. That's when I subscribed. Hot damn, you've been around a while, dude. But yeah, no. I showed that video to my friend back then, and like, dude, you would not believe they figured out how to add spears to things. and then it became one-handed spears, and now we've got like 5 different spear categories if we're not even counting the throwable ones. God, this game's so good with spears. Anyway, let's see. Played it Reborn first time. I'm tempted to try the One Vision mod. From my understanding, I need to use some sort of emulator, and I'm not super sure about that. To clarify, I did not finish Coda. That is perfectly fair. Coda is... Dude, it's all bonus stuff. It's okay. Do not worry about not finishing Coda. Most do not finish Coda. It's just sort of there because you just kind of want to keep the train rolling, But yeah, if you can play this, if you have an original PSP, if you have a Vita, or if you have a phone, you don't want to, let's say, do it on your computer or whatever else, it is absolutely available to you. Bear in mind right now, what we're doing is the PPSSPP emulator. It is the same emulator on all of them. That is currently running the HD mod, so it's not necessarily going to look like this out of the box, but I do have a separate video I put up a little while ago. Just like look up install One Vision, you will find it. It is a very comprehensive guide to everything, including how to add additional features to this thing, which I just realized, did I remember to disable this? Yes. Okay, yeah, by the way, you can actually generate your own codes to give you a preposterous amount of like custom features and things. Also, I love that as of the most recent one, they added all kinds of different visuals for this, including 90s computer. I love that you can make it look like a 90s PC now. Anyway, let's see. If you have the original game on PSP, I think you can play it. Yes, if you want to do it officially, you can still do that either through an official, through a PSP or Vita. Technically, I guess a PS3, but I'm not sure to what extent. I could theoretically test that, but I'm also not going to risk that. Anyway, because, yeah, currently to say that PS3 is modded is beyond an understatement, and I do not want, Sony to delete the mini fridge. So, So there's that. Anyway. Let's see. It's TO's emotional support emulation square. If we take it away, the class system might break. Let's see. Play PC all my life. I don't think I had a console besides a Nintendo 64. Yeah, dude. It is very, very easy to get a hold of what you need to make this one happen. Then, again, Google is your friend. I can't officially say to do any of that, but like genuinely, if this game was released as a standalone thing, like just like let's say Square went up to Rakes one day and like, hey, can we just have you officially release one vision and then we'll sell it for like, an egregious amount of money or something, I would still be on board. I really want to see this this thing be out of danger of ever, running into issues. But no, it's genuinely, this is, as far as strategy games go, and especially ones that you can carry with you in your pocket at all times and play on an original PSP, it is, like, it's not even close how ridiculously good this mod is. Like, again, like, everything from Reborn basically got backported into the mod, short of voice acting at this point. Which I heard somebody was working on that too, so sure, why not? Alright. Alright, and yeah, PPS's PP is genuinely, like they're probably saying over there, I partially saw the comment, it's genuinely one of the easiest emulators to get going. If you just like your basic graphics, it'll work perfectly right out of the box. If you want to run the HD mod, it comes with its own recommended settings, so just kind of, do those. And yeah. Very easy one to get running. Again, just go see that video if you'd like. By the way, I love that little touch right there. One of the things that the mod does is it not only kept the steel tables not intact. Rakes went through and individually redid thousands of steel tables throughout this entire fucking thing on all routes in all scenarios for all units to give them appropriate kind of loot tables and such. And so, for example, with Aracel, I believe the cards that she actually carries depends on her route. So, like, if you pickpocket her, first thing you get is a Justice Tarot card because she's trying to, like, her whole thing is trying to it's kind of kick the ass of whoever's responsible for Balma Musa, more or less. And then if you complete her whole arc where she gets revenge on Leonard, she ends up getting her class that basically lives up to her stereotype, where she becomes a lightning archer. Basically a combination, kind of like lightning witch and archer at the same time. It's defensively god-awful, but it's got a bunch of really cool, unique stuff going on for it. Just like calling down storms and like electrically shooting arrows between people, which I'm pretty certain was a Marvel reference. But whatever. Yeah, dude, there's so much in this. Like, it's genuinely absurd. Anyway. Okay, let's put that over here. Like, it still cracks me up that when it comes to mechanics from other, like, even Final Fantasy projects and stuff like that, like, there were people requesting things from, let's say Final Fantasy Tactics. That was obvious. So you went in and basically added all the classes in, added this, like, kind of sub-features or assumed features from those classes, then added entirely unique classes for it, then added the bosses as unique weapons, then also decided, you know what, that still wasn't good enough. Let's just go ahead and just add in mechanics from a bunch of other Final Fantasies as well. So, for example, the draw command from Final Fantasy VIII is a way to drain MP from people, or the adding gunblades. So Lindell is now a gunblade commando. just like more and more stuff everywhere. Okay, what's up? What you missing? Yes. It does indeed, pew pew. Alright, let's see. Alright, throw that on you. Let's see, if Reborn doesn't manage to bore me after I finish all code, I may go for the OV mod. I mean, feel free to just go straight for OV. As much as it improved about the post-game, because it definitely does get pretty intense by the end of it, I will say both of them do kind of ratchet up the intensity quite a bit. If at any point you're feeling kind of stalled out there, because again, a lot of people do, it's completely understandable to start getting burned out around the code a bit, because it's genuinely like the entire story throughout the entire thing is like, I think minimum is like 32 to like 50 battles, give or take. And then immediately you hop into Coda and they're like, okay, well, here's like 20 right away. You're going to need to do another 100 plus over here. Then we're going to have another like 30 plus over here. Then an entire gauntlet of like another 15 right here, okay? Like, they expected you to go absolutely wild for all that. Yeah, I wish that they added a few more shortcuts. They technically did add some shortcuts for Reborn, but yeah, just they did make the experience a lot more pleasant. I will say that much. Like, PSP was atrocious because it was just demoralizing through and through. Like, you'd go through all this stuff, get absolutely nothing for it, get completely drained all the way down, only to then realize you hit a level wall that has no way to be, gotten around. So you then go all the way back. Oh man, it's it had design technically. But yeah, no, in Reborn they at least paced it out properly, and yeah, for One Vision they add there's mini bosses galore all the way through, so there's a lot more like unique fights and interesting locations and stuff like that. I mean, between the two of them, I genuinely don't even know which one. Like, I think for standard fights, yeah, come to think of it, I think I prefer like actual like the final gauntlet of Coda in Reborn, but I think almost, and I guess floors 70 to 115 I think I prefer in Reborn. For everything else it would be One Vision. And that's exclusively because I think he was worried about setting the difficulty too high in case anybody started to fuck around with their builds around that point or something. But yeah, it very, very final Coda probably could have used a little more difficulty maybe, but again, Rakes is a fair dude. He is very fair. Alright. Let's see. Take some knife over there. Let's see. We'll even go for the last Dragonborn in the game, and of course, she's a stealth archer. Everybody's a stealth archer if you stealth archer hard enough. Though genuinely, now that I think about it, you could pull off a stealth archer with so many different builds in this one. Like, I was doing a video not that long ago about just like even the basic soldier guy, just like heavy armor, crossbow, still ends up potentially being a stealth archer if you're going for what the hell was it called? Why am I blanking on the name of the thing that's basically siege but it doesn't suck now? Opportunist. There we go. It's like, go for a heavy armor opportunist build. There you go. Stealth archer that's just more so an immovable object. It's stealth by being too obvious. You get a stealth archer, let's say out of these guys, out of your spell blades, by just having them become a grenadier past about chapter 3. You can get a stealth archer out of your knight by not doing that. They're an exception to the rule. They are not a stealth archer. However, if you very, very, very heavily reinterpret your idea of what you consider archery, technically it's just putting a stick somewhere else. So you could argue that the knight and Terranite both have the ability to stab stuff with spears, which is really just a bow with fewer stabs. So if you think about it, they're also kind of archers, and if you decide to ignore them, now they're stealthy. Let's see. I haven't seen that file for myself. Taking solved. Usually the way it works is... Oh, okay. We're still going on about extensions and file sizes and stuff. Okay. Good to know. Apparently we've got mods in the works over there. All right. Yeah, so that feeling, by the way, in Reborn of like exploiting defenses and whatever else, you do have plenty of that here potentially happening as well, depending on the situation. Like, crits plus breach on somebody that is potentially a type of armor that's weak to whatever you're bringing along, you're still going to have a moment like over there where they're able to break through them just fine. Somebody that's fully dedicated into a proper like full suit of armor or whatever else, they're going to have a much harder time being moved around. So potentially you may want to just go for something like poisoning them and breaking their arms instead. A very kind thing to apparently do to neighbors. Hey, I can't help it that's strategic. Hey, now there was Yeah, don't do that to your neighbors. That's not actually kind. Anyway, let's see. Thanks again for helping the remake version the other day. Glad I'm near the end now. Well, I hope it's going well. Glad it's going pretty decently, it sounds like. Let's see. Do the mouse and keyboard feel the same using an emulator for OV? No, that's not going to be the same kind of feeling. As far as controllers go, yeah, it's definitely made to be played on a controller. So, you know, do with that as you will. You can still do it on keyboard. It's just that, yeah, you're not going to do standard mouse and keyboard type stuff for the most part. Like, I think probably the most jarring thing for people coming from Reborn might just be the fact that you don't have the trajectory line anymore, at least not always. So you'll notice I mentioned earlier that the perception's one of the best, kind of like low-key one of the best things in this game right now. And that's largely because it does give you that trajectory line, it gives you that back attack thing, it just helps in general. Not everybody gets it. But that's kind of the thing. It's one of those things that tends to make classes feel surprisingly different. So, for example, like let's say you got, you get perception on somebody that's able to throw items, and another one that doesn't throw items. They forgot to, or rather, they can throw items, but they forgot to bring that along. It does give it a bit of a different feel. Where, like, let's say a rune fencer is potentially going to have a really easy time figuring out where their items are going to go, and archer's going to be pretty good at figuring out where their shots are going to go. But for example, random soldier that forgot to bring it along is potentially going to feel a bit more limited. It's not a huge thing. You can eventually figure out where everything goes on your own. It's a nice little feeling thing, I'm trying to think of a better way to describe that. Also, yes, of course, Air sells the sword to keep lightning crystals on her. Anyway, Archer with a shadow clone? Let's see. Technically, that is something you can do, but anyways, let's see. Knights have crossbows, so technically they can be stealth archers as long as they're less likely to be targeted with failing stuff. Knights do not get crossbows in one vision. They are strictly melee only. There's a few classes that are strictly melee only, specifically just, to lock them into the sort of tank role and whatever else. But there's plenty of other classes that are able to do different things. Let's go ahead and have you chuck one of these over here. I'll probably throw a faded circle over here. And this is one of those moments that matters right here. So, like, one of the things with the Spellblade that's always been a little bit... Well, they're called Spellblade in this one, Valkyrie, whatever else. It's like one of the things that's always been kind of different about them is they always had a hard time in the official versions finding a good balance for them. So, like, let's say back in PSP, they wanted to make them this jack of all trades, but because of how committed you had to be to make absolutely anything functional in that version, their jack of all trades thing kind of completely fell apart. Like, one of their features didn't even make it to Reborn, which is the ability to put down barricades, which is, I kid you not, a skill specifically, exclusively for the use of pikes. That's kind of the reason that you had the 2 to 3 range pike thing. It was weird, dude. I don't know why they had so many things that were exclusively for a weapon type that was introduced nowhere near where the skill was in that version. But what they do in this one is that they are, once again, this sort of like jack of all trades sort of thing. But, for example, they throw items around. They have sort of, I guess you could say, like pocket hexes of sorts that allow them to do different things. So, like guaranteeing somebody's weapon will automatically hit their target. Or, for example, support abilities like making somebody fly. It just feels cool, They just sort of feel like this sort of interesting, almost like Witcher sword. It's nifty. All right. Let's see, the thing with the Steam reviews of Reborn is part of the community was unhappy that they couldn't just out-level the maps. See, there's also how the buff mechanic. Now, see, here's the thing: the buff mechanic, I like the buff mechanic, so I'm going to disagree with you on that one. But again, I get it, but it also has to be noticed that the series has done that since day one, like literally day one. Go look at March of the Black Queen. The entire game takes place on a coffee table. you can see the map. You can see where they have their like different stuff where they're setting the scene and whatever else. The place, every time you raid a town or liberate a town or capture a town or whatever else, you end up going and getting additional cards, which you then have a choice over what to do with. Oh, I'm sorry, you just drew a card. It turned day to night instantly. Like, goofy card mechanics were something that the series has loved since the beginning. Anyway, so yeah, it's just, personally, I really love that because I just love how completely out of pocket that is. I get it. Like, I get it for the ones that wanted the, super ultra, just full-on tabletop experience. I get it. The irony being that the tabletop elements are being taken out to give it more of a tabletop experience. But anyway, but yeah, no, that personally I really like that because that's one of those things that I really enjoy about March of the Black Queen. It's just like, it doesn't try to make sense. It's basically the living embodiment of it's magic, I don't have to explain shit kind of thing, So either way, again, like, as far as full-on simulation type of stuff, yeah, this one does it a lot better. As far as just being a game and doing its own thing, then they're both going to be pretty much even in that regard. I personally really like the way that they did that card mechanic because it opened up builds in a very readable way. Like, for example, with Canopus, the Vartan back in, let's say, Classic, didn't have much going on for him. He was just Birdman with higher stats. He didn't even have spells in that one. We had the Vartan that came in PSP. He suddenly got spells so that, he could do the whole wind shot thing that they introduced from Night of Lotus, apparently. They gave him a build from OB64 for some reason. I don't really know what that was all about. That was just kind of random. And then they basically said, okay, just make it work, and then just gave him none of the skills that he needed to function. So, he was a spellcaster, couldn't use spellcraft, so his spells always did 1. He could use debuffs to some degree, but didn't have spell strike. Or rather, no, he got spell strike, so he was good with landing the missiles for that 1 damage, but couldn't really do much more beyond that. Theoretically, his stats were supposed to make up for the fact that he didn't have the right skills for it, so at which point the whole, switching over to the PSP system of having more skills instead of stats kind of becomes a moot thing. Like, it was just odd. They expected you to understand that you could switch somebody to a different class to take a one-time bonus, and then transfer that over to a different class at a lower level, and then get a second one-time bonus, and then you're expected to understand that you combine this with all these different racial and leveling skills and whatever else, at which point you basically just steamrolled everything because they couldn't even touch you anymore. Like, it was this weird case of extremes in both directions, just kind of missing the mark after about the first chapter. Anyways, but then, yeah, you have the reborn version of that Vartan, and now it's like, okay, they don't have to rely on simply luck. You've got these, I've got different card mechanics. Suddenly their additional tile of movement matters because they're the ones that are able to pick up all the, they're basically the vulture. They're able to pick up all the stuff that nobody else could. Now suddenly they've got their pick over how they're going to be going and attacking something. It just it flows very well in a very like kind of chessy kind of way. It's less of a simulation, more of a chessboard, I guess is the best way to put it. Again, speed chessies have been describing that thing for years. That's what it feels like to me. It's like if you combine together just like some kind of a card game with chess, more or less. Like if something like, God, I don't remember, it's less horrible themed alternative, but if anyone ever played Battlecry, like if there was a version of that that didn't take you 80 hours to set up, then something like that. Anyway, let's go back to the comments here real quick. Let's see, maybe I missed something, but aren't barricades redundant to Rampart Shadow anyways? Yes. Kind of. I mean, they looked more natural than Rampart Shadows, I will say that much, but also they didn't really serve much of a role. They were kind of like the Rampart Shadow, but shittier, if that makes sense. So, like, they showed up on fencers. They were slightly less than in cost. You got them early, and you'd think, okay, it's a barricade. I'm going to take my crossbow guy that just put down the barricade, put down a crossbow, shoot over the barricade, bam, I just did a tactics. Except you didn't, because it doesn't work, because you can't shoot over the barricade unless you're sitting well above it, meaning that the only time that you were actually able to use the barricade, you know, as a thing that you could shoot over is if you decided to go make them hover in place, then put down a barricade, then move them up to the barricade, and then they could hover slightly above it. It's a weirdly specific thing you could do, but you could. Hover was kind of rare, but it was one of the few use cases for something like the Cloud Ring. So there's that. But yeah, no, it was cheap. It was, I mean, cheapish. It still took you like 3 turns to charge up to use it. Its main purpose was supposed to be like, let's say you're in this staircase right here, right? And so you had your fencer right here, and stuff was approaching, and then you knew some units would get bottlenecked over here. So you would put down a barricade, then you would just stab down and repeatedly attack those 2 tiles, just have them sit in place, maybe put down a boon of swiftness or something. It's, you know, it can work. It's just, it was a weird ability. So yeah, it was changed quite a bit for One Vision there, where it's more of a gunner thing, since they're able to do a bit more with them. But anyways, we'll get to that as we'll get to it. Let's see, lots of people didn't like the card mechanics. Personally, I don't mind, but I know it's divisive. Yeah, no, I get that it's divisive, but yeah, personally, I just really liked how they played. What's up? Your headphones? Let me see. Oh, I see. Here we go. There we go. Alrighty. Let's see. Love the voice lines for events immersive Black Queen. Really funny to me for some reason. Oh, the neutral awe and stuff like that. The town's been liberated. Oh, yay. Yeah, the lines were great in that one. Especially like the find out always made me think of like Ridge Racer or something. Find out. What are we finding out? I don't know. They're weirdly excited about finding out whatever happens, and then they pull like the friggin' tower or something. Find out! Your reputation has dropped, and everyone hates you now, and also the pirates love you now, and also it's suddenly become nighttime. Don't question it. Also, the werewolves are everywhere now. Don't ask questions. Just play the dang game. It's just delightfully goofy. I don't know. I love how little of a shit that game gives. Like, I do hope that they remake it, but also I keep wondering what's going to happen if they do remake it. It's just the sheer goofball energy of that thing is hard to match. All right. See, I understand the cards are meant to prevent hurdling. As soon as you let the enemy get enough cards, they'll slap your ass. That's not even it, though. The cards do more than that, and I think that's partially why there was so much backlash about it, because they get misunderstood a lot. It's not about turtling. There was this constant understanding of like, oh, the cards are the only way you win. No, they can't emphasize anything that isn't already there, was the thing. So, for example, what they did was that they allowed for area control to be more of a mechanic. So, like, even in cases where bosses started off with a bunch of cards or something, you still, for example, could stall them, could have them, you know, held in place, have some archers leading them in place or something like that. You could still hold territory to allow you to get your, you know, pick of buffs or what have you, or just ignore that completely and just run debuffs the entire time. You generally do not need any cards to actually get through that thing. That's the part that was misunderstood. And personally, it kind of goes back to a bit of a frustration that I've had with all Matsuno games in general, which is that they never explain shit. Like, they'll be like, here, there's cards now, they're good or something. Anyways, have a nice day, I'm off to go click on pictures of cats. And it's like, no, they're there to open up options that previously were not there. So, like, let's say PSP version of this, okay? Like, let's say we go over to, whatever, we'll use Cashua as an example, right? If she has her default class, she is able to use stuff like Sunspear, for example, by default. But that ability would have basically no power behind it unless it had Spellcraft. You had up to 4 stacks of Spellcraft that you had innately, and then you had another one that was there as a buff, right? And if you didn't have those, again, unless your stats were absolutely ridiculous, or you were combining racial skills and and elemental skills at the same time, there was nothing there. So it didn't really matter what you were doing with it, it just basically would bounce off of armor entirely. And so what they wanted to do with that particular thing is go back to the idea of why the skills were like this, in that they were allowing them to, let's say, potentially make this weird hybrid of a bunch of different units or what have you, and then potentially, instead of just having somebody grind or try to figure out a bunch of mechanics that weren't there, it's a case of, okay, you control territory, you can now control temporary buffs that people are carrying around. You get, permanent crits up on somebody, get a magic up on somebody. Now, instead of their magic just being a good standard ability, now it's really good at pushing somebody backwards and hurting them a ton, or having tornadoes that can throw people off buildings or stuff like that. It just allows for intensifying things in the same way that over-leveling those skills would have done before, but then immediately going and taking that away so that it's not a constant thing. It has the good part of the build-up without the permanently getting stuck in overpowered mode that you had in the previous version, because once you got, either in the classic version if you over-leveled, or in PSP if you over-ranked or stuff like that, once you got to that point, nothing could touch you anymore, So, yeah. Anyway, let's see, decided to give my internet presence limited in regards to this. I don't know. Let's see, I wonder why even with the remake that is Reborn, there's not class clothes change for Lizardmen or Birdmen. It's because they were building off the PSP version, and it just wasn't a thing that could be touched, as I understand. It's kind of like how they, for whatever reason, personally I find this a little baffling in retrospect, but when they were remaking Final Fantasy Tactics, they're like, okay, we lost the original source code, we don't want to redo the PSP version. I know, let's remake the PS1 version from scratch, complete with the same limitations, add a few new UI elements, and then make sure that it hard crashes if we try to add more stuff. Like, we've decided to shoot ourselves in the foot. Check it out, you guys. Don't know why they did that, but anyways. Let's see, is there an upcoming game from the series from Square Enix, like another remake or another game? I hope March of the Black Queen or Night of Lotus, personally. See, we don't know, maybe a gacha game, but only in Japan. Oh yeah, I heard they were making single-player versions of some of those. Like, somebody was mentioning something about War of the Visions getting a single-player version, which that can go straight back in the dumpster fire as far as I'm concerned, but who knows, maybe it won't suck. Man, a few people told me to go cover the mobile version of that thing. It was pure dog shit. I don't know what to tell you. And then Sword of Convaleria came along, and it's like, yeah, this is the bar you need to meet if you want people to care. Like, this is how you do this whole thing of, like, taking a single-player experience and making it a mobile game, It's like, the actual single-player thing is basically free. You can do it as much as you want. Like, sure, they have the pretend key mechanic, but at this point, running through it a couple of times, I have never once had to spend a penny on it. I have 50 plus extra chapters unlocked, and I haven't even bothered doing that most of the time. So, anyway. See, the thing I really wish this franchise have is like a board game or something like that. I'm surprised they haven't done it yet, to be honest. Like, again, Reborn could have been a board game. I don't know. Like, it's designed like they wanted it to be a board game. Like, the level caps basically are just a way of unlocking skills at intended times and basically getting rid of a level mechanic. One Vision in many ways does the same thing. Like, this series is forever trying to erase the concept of levels while having levels. Let's see, got a really good feeling about how much love they put into Reborn. Reminded me of the old Warcraft 3 days. Now it's rare to find games like that. Yeah, again, it was made with a ton of passion. They clearly didn't have a ton of budget, but again, they did what they've done with the series the whole time. They took an idea and they just put a weird, unique spin on it. Like, again, I love the board game feel of that one. Let's see, maybe they also emulated the PS1 RAM into the game? Maybe? Let's see, glad that the FFT remake showed Square Enix that people like tactical RPGs and have interest in buying them. All we can do now is hope. Yeah, now maybe next time they'll actually do something risky like SOC did instead of Triangle. Yes, I am still a bit bitter about that. Let's see, let's make a remake of a remake, but slightly better. Not much. This franchise is dead, sells 1 million copies anyway. But will they learn and make the Vagrant Story remake? Only time will tell. I hope so. God, I hope so. Yeah, that's the other one that really wants a remake. Which is weird, because thinking about it, if they remake Vagrant Story, it immediately loses one of its most fascinating points, which is how they got that much graphical fidelity out of a PS1 game. Like, they have proper full face animations on a thing that has less pixels than a frickin' napkin. It's bizarre. Alright. Let's see, this guy's not learning very much. Like, I mean, even this, okay? Even this, like, what we're doing right here. This is one of those moments that I saw get criticized in Reborn's reviews that still baffles me, because they're like, oh, they took out the super in-depth system of buying your skills, and it's like, there's a time requirement behind buying skills. That's not that intricate, you know? Figuring out what to do with those skills, that part's important. The buying part, less so. It's just kind of here as a way to give you a sort of interactive element. Alright. Throwing a counter hit on this guy. Like, even stuff like this where it was, like, limiting certain abilities to certain weapons. I like that. Again, it's just a new way to weave things together. The more stuff you weave things together, the more interesting the strategy elements get. It's kind of like, it's kind of like this thing where, like, take New XCOM as an example, right? Which I know, old fart example, because the latest one in that series was still absolutely eons ago at this point, but like 2 is the one that gets held up as the sort of standard for how everything should be, and like it added a bunch of new things, but how many of those elements really improved the formula, you know? Like, it was cool to see the old second wave options gone and worked in, but it's still surprising how much more mileage they get out of, let's say, randomized skills in the first one as opposed to the second, where there's just a lot more interactions because they didn't, for example, take away 2 weapon slots on everybody. Technically, it allows for more reload mechanics, but also there was just more interactions with those specific things before. They added more classes, but potentially when you've also added like more classes on top of a way more 3-dimensional map and stuff like that, it tends to kind of step away from the SRPG thing of being just complicated enough to starting to be a bit more of a headache. But anyway, let's see. Out of curiosity, when was the first time you played Tactics Ogre? You seem to be like the old wise man about this game. Dude, I started this thing when I was still in single digits. Like, whenever Night of Lotus came out was my very first one. And yeah, let's see, when the hell did Night of Lotus come out? Looks like that came out in 2001, or no, 2002, because apparently we had a delay over here. So apparently I've been running this series for 24 years currently. But yeah, so okay, so the reason for all of that, though, like it's actually also part of the reason that I, you know, specifically love Reborn in particular too, because essentially what it did was step back towards that direction, like, because that was sort of the forming moment, so to speak. I guess technically started with FFT, but I was originally looking for Night of Lotus when I found FFT, then played FFT to completion, and then only then could I actually find a copy of Night of Lotus, and then immediately get astoundingly disappointed by the music. Anyway, so yeah, like, that was my whole experience. It's just like, oh, you know, anyone can die at any given time. It's this kind of grim setting where everything's kind of a bummer, but weirdly realistic about it, so it doesn't feel like there's this like dramatic pressure for everything. It's just sort of the state of the world is just shitty on a good day. It's just a very unique feeling, especially when it comes out with something like FFTA right nearby, where it's just suddenly this way more optimistic feeling about everything. Granted, you know, the irony of doing a video of how actually grim that setting is, if you think about it. Anyways, besides the point. But but no, so like that was my forming experience. It's actually the reason that I really didn't like the PSP version originally, because it was so completely different from anything I'd experienced, and I never could afford a copy of the PS1 version. Or the PS1 version of the original one. So I had no clue of the rest of the series. It basically was just like FFT, then Knight of Lotus, then being really confused by War of the Lions. Well, actually, no, FFTA before that. FFTA 2 at the same time as War of the Lions, and then the PSP version of TO. And yeah, kept being annoyed by it, confused by it, frustrated by it, but still kept coming back to it because there was just something there. Kept feeling like I was missing something over and over until eventually the One Vision mod happened. It's like, oh, here's all these mechanics I completely didn't understand for years. Okay. See, Origami has more curves than PS1 games. Fair. Let's see, how do you feel about the Juggernaut of One Vision? I kind of wish she had Mighty Strike or something. It's not like it will act earlier without a damaging skill. This class is slow as fuck. Let's see, Secret Flying Juggernaut on a neutral route. Yeah, true. Tammuz is friggin' amazing. Hold on, let me get a quick refresher on that one. Let's go over to it real quick, just so we know what we're talking about here. There we go. There's the save I'm looking for. Gotta love when it takes several seconds on fast forward to go down your save files. Okay. Alright, where is this dude? Was it you? Who the hell did I have as a... yeah, by the way, one of the very unsung features of Reborn, telling exactly where somebody is. Oh no, it was just Tammuz. Okay. Well, anyways. Game have many class. Alright. Yeah, I love when something's gone through so many different versions that you genuinely can't even remember exactly what they have at this point. Yeah, they don't have the throwing stuff anymore. Full heavy, that's a given. Alright. I have no idea why I'm going about it this way instead of just looking at friggin' Tammuz over here. Alright. Reflect Mountain. Well, that ain't right. Why does he even have those? Alright. New plan. I'm gonna go back to this one. Yeah, I don't know, I didn't really have too many complaints about the Juggernaut in the last one, but again, Tammuz, so that's just kind of whatever on that one. But also, there were so many classes I didn't really bother to play around with it much, so I think what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and pop on the thing for changing anybody to any class, and we're just going to go ahead and play around with it a little bit, see what that's feeling like. Don't know why I'm looking at this. I still love this 90s PC look for this thing. It's just so good. Alright. Oh yeah, I forgot to turn on New Game Plus mode. Don't need that version of change any character to any job. Where is it? The second version. Yeah, I really should clean up this list. There we go. There's the improved version. Alright. And back to it. Let's go ahead and switch you over to a Juggernaut. Let's see if you can not juggeringly. By the way, sorry if there's the occasional crispiness to the audio. That would be emulation fun. Give you a spear, buckler, all that sort of thing. The classic Greek look over here. So we'll just run Ray Boom without our ace. Just gonna throw you backwards over here for the time being. And then we'll see about a opinion on this Juggernaut. But yeah, Tammuz is insanely good. Like I love the I love what they did with all the characters in this one. Yeah, for those unfamiliar, why Tammuz in particular gets that look. So Tammuz is one of the more interesting generic characters that you can get. Considering if you read his backstory, he's basically just somebody who has the just shittiest luck imaginable, more or less. Their entire history throughout the entire war is to show up to losing battle after losing battle, just trying to follow Leonard into his one victory if you could just get a single one. But yeah, no, it's why he's got unreasonably high vitality and everything else. So in one vision, he's changed over to a Raven Man, which you typically only encounter later. So he's basically been sort of promoted into a alternate Angel Knight by that point. Since normally he's just, you know, a knight with a crossbow that's just looking for his one opening. Instead, he's a unique flying lizard type of deal here. Well, I guess technically unique flying orc. Because, yeah, there are no unique orcs, which is kind of a bummer, because what is it doing there if they don't do anything with it? That, again, is just one of those weird things that's just sort of a carryover from the PSP version that Reborn never got a chance to go around and fix, which is just... Orcs in general are just kind of there, but why? Like, they're just slightly different lizards. Anyway. By the way, this is one of those moments that I love in One Vision, one of those very Knight of Lotus moments. First Terranite you run into. You can recruit him, if you'd like, but also, this guy's going to drop not only a pile of Terranite marks for you if you happen to have missed them from earlier, but also is going to be the guy that drops the greased boots. He's very greasy. He's gone Greasy Jones, I guess. I don't know. I never actually checked if he has any unique things to steal, but I guess not. But this is one of those other things that's very kind of OCD friendly when it comes to this mod, which is just everybody has a bunch of little cheap moves that they can do to interact with stuff. You know, like you're not within range, let's say, with your rogue, so you go throw a rock at somebody in order to give them a stun effect. They have the stun effect coming in from the Swordmaster and Knight of Lotus, which, yes, the Swordmaster does get that move too. You got those poison shurikens on ninjas. Unlike the official versions, the sort of buff effects do actually apply to those as well, so not only averse effects, or not averse effects, not only instills, but this also means that for example, something like Bullseye, which is the old kind of Eagle Eye ability, can essentially be used in order to guarantee that poison effect. So basically you have your poison arrow ninjas right off the bat, but they're rogues now. So the rogues are the ones doing that. Archers can put silence and stun on their arrowheads, so it's just kind of neat. Everybody's got stuff to do all the time. Alright. See, the boss never expects to see a birdman falling from the sky ready to split their heads in two. They're also wondering what's with a slow lizard man in the back. Let's see, if it's too slow for you, equip your Juggernaut with Void Rings or Pants. Also spam Quicken. Yeah, that too. That too. You okay? Oh. Mr. Fluffy Beast, I'm sorry, I know you're comfortable, but, have you considered moving? He's gone from Simba to accordion, poor kitty. See, Tammuz got the gift of the lizard just like Ritz got the gift of the TA. I mean, he at least gets to do stuff. I love how there's all this build-up for, or not Ritz. I'm mixing up with, friggin', who is it, Adele? I was just standing up because I was sitting weird. Let's see. I just thought orcs are like sons of ogres and human females because we never see the female orcs. Yeah, that's I thought they were just sort of like here, like they were just sort of random deformed people or something. Because the whole idea with Oryx is supposed to be after all the Chaos Gates and stuff get closed up, they just sort of got left behind, and so they're like, well, time to find a day job, I guess. somebody forgot to let me back into hell. Whoopsie doodle, 9 to 5 it is. I wish I could go back to hell. Man. What a delightful thing that is. Also, sorry, I keep realizing I keep leaving the cursor on screen. Just force a habit and stuff. So, I want to point out, by the way, okay, this is another one of those things that's awesome about One Vision. The levels basically don't matter, okay? The levels mostly just determine what gear you have access to. So, like, right here, she is 9 times his level, and yet he's still basically as threatening as he was before with his spear. If he attacks somebody with armor, it'll bounce right off. If he attacks somebody without armor, it'll end up being a pretty decent threat. It's not always going to be perfect, but just, like, that is a very satisfying feeling. When you have somebody that basically doesn't have anything to them, and they can still just sort of switch to a new class and still function. See, orcs are just the slaves. I mean, pretty much, although then there's also the argument to be made from Ogre Battle 64, where they sort of show up in one particular region and just make a functional, democracy. This is one of those weird, random, one-off moments, like, just functional hell democracy. I don't know what to tell you guys. They're doing just fine over here. Alright. So aren't they spawned by necromancers with some darkness? I mean, they can be. I don't know if that's more of a gameplay contrivance or just... Yeah, I don't know. But, let's go ahead and hopefully try to get a stun on this guy. Which, by the way, this is by no means some sort of, like, secret optimal strat for ninjas or something. It's just the random stuff I decided to slap on Felicia this time. There's a lot of really random builds you can get away with in One Vision, just kind of because you feel like it. So, like, in this particular case, her fist weapon, like, fists have multiple different categories. Some of them, like, the blunt ones are going to cause a stun effect. The claws are going to be poisoned. You've also got draining claws, which are going to sap MP out of somebody's brain. You've also got the Hulk hands, which will basically just punch somebody backwards. They're not actually called Hulk hands. They're like the Jarnaflarg or whatever. I don't speak Welsh or whatever that shit is. Anyway. So, let's go ahead and send you over here. But yeah, it's a very cozy feeling. Like, I would say, between the two of them, as much as I love the board game feeling of Reborn, this one does, generally speaking, kind of retain that same just flow state all throughout. So it's not just when things are going well, you just kind of start to feel your entire party as this one cohesive whole in your head, you know? It just feels like everything's clicking together and just sort of working, and yeah, it's oftentimes why if you pick up somebody else's save file, it can be really, really weird. Like, there were multiple cases where I'd ask people to send me my save file so I could try to help them out with stuff, and it's just like, I don't understand your party. I have not... I have not mentally merged with this group of pixels. I don't know if anybody else has had that same experience, but yeah. It's an interesting one to run into. Okay. And pop one of those. And that guy's going to be toast in a moment. I think we're pretty much all set here. See, cudgel ninjas, crossbow ninjas, sidearm ninjas, all equal fun? Yes. Very much so. Like, as much as RB did a good job of funneling people towards stuff that can work, yeah, OV's just like, here's the entire toy box. Have fun with that. And, unlike the PSP version, your units do not feel like complete morons if you do something wrong. They just feel less, less efficient. So, for example, if you forget to put somebody's stuff on, they are no longer harmlessly just bouncing off. They can still go and wrestle with somebody just fine. So I understand the feeling when I saw your POTD videos. I couldn't understand how you could have 3 fairies in your roster. because you just kind of, you know what, you just kind of can. That's how. Like, that's the thing. You just sort of make stuff work eventually. Like, they don't have a tendency to last very long, depending on which version you're playing, but, you know. Which, by the way, it's funny because there's one topic I've started multiple times now and I keep forgetting to actually finish, which is the idea of stuff that got backported into this one from, like, from Reborn and whatever. One of the ones that I actually forgot to mention was the whole One Life system. So yeah, there was just a code that Rakes put together for that a while ago. You can just kind of pop that on there. It's just a feature you can have now. It's not even new. That thing's been there for years. But anywho, yeah, if you like the old Fear Breach combo, you got an entire category in axes, like both one-handed and two-handed versions, as well as a sidearm version that'll also do the same thing. You know, did you like the whole idea of putting a pocket poison dagger on everybody? Oh, you can basically parry with almost anything now. Also, the entire claw category does it, or rather, several parts of the claw category does it. You know, do you like the idea of getting tricky with your debuffs? Oh, all of the debuffs are guaranteed in this one, and also potentially have all sorts of additional effects that you maybe didn't consider before. You know, things like guaranteed delay abilities, or potentially area freezes, or just all kinds of little goodies here and there. Anyway. See, so can you say that every party may represent the personalities of the save file owner? Yes. Like, that's the thing. This one's very, very, very good about sort of, I guess you could say, emergent narrative. It doesn't feel like the right term, but it's kind of a sort of an emergent narrative of sorts. Because, yeah, the sort of classes that end up getting chosen, the way that they're all put together, they have a tendency to evolve in very uniquely organic ways in One Vision. I mean, this is true in all versions of this thing, but especially so here. And I think that's just down to how many classes there are. See, every party tells a headcanon. I love the idea of Donalto running around with whips, being some sort of Witcher Necromancer hunter with mutant exorcism. Yeah, and meanwhile, on the last complete run that I did, I had him turn into a Necromancer himself. He's become the thing that he hates. On another one, he was running around as a Terra Knight and what have you. But yeah, it's fun to screw around with that stuff. There's always more stuff to potentially find. Like, sometimes I'll turn on the whole One Life thing, have it be a more dramatic run, or for situations like this where it's already an Iron Man run, it tends to lead to a bit more drama, you know, where you can't quite save somebody right now, but then they might have to sacrifice themselves later because they know their time's up, you know, that kind of stuff. It's neat. It's kind of nifty. It is weird to get used to the leveling system and all that, seeing as it's, you know, classes instead of other stuff, but you get used to it. Like, the levels matter so little in a direct power sense, like you saw right there, that he's still able to fight a guy that's dramatically higher than he is. And then you have stuff like this, where even despite coming in with absolutely basic garbage, despite being dramatically under-leveled, he can still run out into the middle, you know, damage guy, get rid of this guy's poison. You know, he still has a role to play. He's gonna have a little bit of a disadvantage given the situation here, but he still has stuff that he can do, you know? See, a recent video you may have talked about ideas for a mod. Do you have a known modder to get that idea going? Hopefully I get to play that for Reborn someday. Yes, actually, I believe he is currently on it. But that's why I was actually mentioning him during that thing. Because Alistair, he's the same guy that did the no experience mod, the same guy that removed level caps for the folks that were asking, the one that changed music for the ones that wanted certain SNES track locations put back. Same one that added the old fart mod. That's was one of very few kind of morally okay use cases of an AI thing, because it allowed for morphing Canopus's voice to redo his line from the PS1 translation, where he introduces Warren as this old fart. a whole bunch of needless complication and potentially millions of somebody else's investment to make somebody get insulted. Oh. You okay? Yes, I absolutely can. I'll be right back, guys. Okie dokie, and back. Let's see. Why the obsession of making the old man so dirty? It's not a dirty thing. It's literally just an insult from way back in the day. It's just like, oh, it's just some... It's not literally saying somebody's, somebody's old and farting. It's just calling somebody an old fart. It's just what people used to do. Well, what's that? No. No, I know. No, that's not what I'm talking about. Anyway, but yeah, no, it's just, yeah. I mean, she's got a good point here. It is, theoretically, I don't know how this lines up, okay? I don't know how this lines up, because I heard somebody else mention this before, too, that it is possible that the whole Warren line is potentially a DBZ reference. I don't know. It's just funny because they're coming in, they're basically, they're just off of surviving March of the Black Queen there. They're like, oh, here's this guy. They're representing all these knights over here. These guys are serving him. This guy, he's over here leading a beast battalion, and this old fart over here. And this is the guy that basically just stopped 5 different hell invasions. I know. Anyway. So. Let's see. You should try a Rogue Donalto because the only thing better than praying is stealing. I mean, right now, I'm pretty sure that's why Felicia is over here as a ninja by default. Which apparently she's so stealthy that I forgot where the hell she is. She's all the way over here. Yeah, I was explaining this earlier. This is one of many things that I just love that are just kind of oddly specifically here in One Vision. Because, yeah, SNES version, she basically comes in using the same loadout that he does, probably for programming reasons. But it means that she's holding a copy of Exorcism but can't actually use it. So it's just sort of assumed that she's an imposter or doesn't know what she's doing. So in this case, she faked her way through friggin' priest school or whatever, and she's just a ninja and just presumably carries incense bombs with her or something. It's just so oddly specific, but I love it. Anyway, unfortunately, did not succeed in breaking that guy's legs, but that's partially why she's over here. She's going to see if she can maybe recruit this guy or maybe do something else. We'll see. Anyway, Also like to comment that Livy would make a better Sacred Fist than Elrig. Her sprite fits perfectly. You can do that, you know? Like, just very literally, the reason that there is a thing on the One Vision website for generating your own codes is for stuff like that. Because there's requests every dang day where it's like, oh, somebody should be this class, somebody should be this class. It's just like, go make it yourself then. Just go do it. I mean, again, a moment ago we switched this guy over to being a Juggernaut just for the hell of it. It's just one of those nice things, you know? Make anybody be whatever the hell you want them to be. It works just fine. And cool thing is, because every character and their stats are completely separated, it doesn't immediately break if you start trying to screw around with stuff like that. Like, yeah, there's going to be different stat totals between, like, a human and a lizard and stuff like that, but generally speaking, it's going to turn out just fine. So yeah, it's great. It's kind of great in that way. Alright, let's see. I mean, it could hurt him, I suppose. Very weird way to get there, but why not? Like, yeah, this guy's able to take on a boss enemy, again, without any levels whatsoever. This is why I think at some point a level 1 run of this thing is even possible in a very direct sense. Because, yeah, thankfully, the levels, they don't matter nearly as much as the equipment. At this point, there's not a huge equipment disparity, so he can still do it. But later on, like, somebody in a Brigandine is going to easily be able to dodge a basic spear. So you wanted a Blue Dragoon and got me one with the code? Yeah, exactly. You can color code everybody how you'd like them. You can give everybody custom class loadouts. Hell, if you wanted to just completely run full NPC teams if you want, you can do that. It is absolutely fantastic with that stuff. So you just joined How's the Car thing? Still kind of a work in progress. So yeah, thankfully, we were temporarily lent a car to be able to still get around. There's another one that is being fixed, that has currently been almost done for about the last 4 days, which is kind of frustrating. But yeah, it just so happened that my mechanic friend was working on a project during that time. So we'll see how that one ends up working out. Otherwise, there are other backup plans in place. So yeah, we're dealing. But yeah, I did end up going back and obsessively staring at the intersection where the crash had happened, because I was trying to figure out what the hell happened, because like I've driven hundreds of thousands of miles. When it comes to road stuff, I'm pretty good at paying attention to things. So it was bugging me to all hell, because I kept replaying the thing in my head of just like, how did crash happen? What the hell were they doing there? And it turned out, sure enough, that yeah, there's weirdness with that light. For some reason, they have it actually, like, they have it yellow on one side, green on the other, but it's like green and yellow on one side. Basically, most of the lights around here are, they go red, then they switch to yellow on the turn, and then immediately go green. And so this particular one goes red, it goes yellow on the turn, and then goes green on the opposite side, while remaining red and yellow on one side in particular. So it technically only affects that one turn lane that's off by itself, but still it gives people the sort of green light to basically say, hey, turn when it's safe. Okay, nobody's moving, it's a yellow light, go. And then at the same time it's green on the other side. Like, oh, well, just go into their side, actually. So yeah, I was talking with the city earlier about that one. Anyway, let's see, crash your car, hope everything is okay. More like got crashed into, because basically the scenario was like, imagine you're sitting at a turn, okay, and every other light in the city turns yellow, turns green. After, like, forward is red, left turn is yellow, then green in every other light. In this particular case, yeah, it turns yellow, start doing the turn, turns green on the opposite side. Guy's driving a lifted truck, so he basically doesn't see that I'm there, I'm assuming. So he starts going, because he technically has a green at that point. I'm already going because I had a yellow and they had a red. And then, yeah, he ends up taking out the back of the car. That's... So, yeah, unfortunately the car was not okay, but... Yeah, that's why the party name in this particular save file is called the Millie-morial. Poor old Millie, you will be missed. You were a good car. Yes, we will miss Mildred. Sorry, we named the car Mildred. Yeah. Miss Potato insisted. But yeah, she seemed like a Mildred, okay? She's a fairly old car, but a good, reliable, you know, family van kind of thing. Okay, SUV. Crossover, technically, but whatever. Anyway, it's toast, it's scrap now. You know, new car is almost fixed up, so we'll see how that's going. But yeah. And yeah, hopefully the city ends up going and fixing that stupid light, because that is a really, really dumb design. Like, by any metric, that's just straight up stupid. You should not have two lights that are saying to go at the same time. But anyway. Alright. Alright, now going back to opinions on Juggernaut here. So we were talking about this earlier, just kind of like, what is the deal with this class here? Like, yeah, it's slow, but this guy's just like meant to be a hard tank, so understandable. Compared with a knight here, I mean, they're like a slightly more offensive variant of the whole thing. A bit more water friendly, so that's already a nice little bonus. Have them blocking off from the water, flanking from the water. I forget if they get Opportunist. I think they do. But yeah, Intimidate halves TP, gets rid of active skills in the area, so potentially allows for, you know, convenient breakthroughs there. Alright. Anyway, though, we'll have more of an opinion on that one as we go on. But yeah, I think we'll probably end this on Vice here pretty soon here. All right, let's see. All good. Wife named our cars Grace and Redna of the colors and being old ladies. It's just something about cars having old lady names feels appropriate. Hell, the new car we're considering naming Rita. Or possibly Meow Rita. We're still... Meowgarita. Well, I know, but still, like... Okay. For context, okay? Have any of y'all seen those stickers that are like, you know, nice parking spot Rita, and it's like a bluey thing? So, basically a combination of that, and one of my daughters recently was going and playing through Soul Silver, and has just gotten really, really, really into Chikorita. Like, that's just... She's just really into the whole Meganium line lately. And so, as a bit of a side result of the whole thing, you know, she kept talking about Chikorita. I kept thinking about that thing while looking at this car. It happens to be green. I'm like, it's Rita. It has to be Rita. It's like, what about Meowgarita? Because we got the whole endless cat thing going on, too. I don't know. We'll see. We will see. We will see. All right. All right, so few little differences on this one, by the way. So one nice unique thing that you can do here, if you wanted to, you can get this gremlin over here. I don't know why the hell I was calling them imps earlier. Whatever, brain is brain sometimes. But yeah, you can get yourself one of those with a Terranite if you want to. Wasn't feeling it on this particular run, so we'll just go ahead and leave him over there for the time being. Anyway. See, he was here a while ago asking about shrine drops. Been all the way through POTD and San Bronze. I'm a change man. Again, which version? That can have very, very different meanings depending on which version. But yes, very much so. Walking, like, again, the differences are hilarious though. Like, okay, you know, SNES version they gave you your unique classes, all well and good. You know, neat little locations, some of the coolest locations in that one. Then you get the PSP version, they're like, maybe you'll get some crafting books. You'll have no chance to use most of them, though. We'll maybe consider giving you some extra drops somewhere. The shamans exist, but that's whatever. Then you get to Reborn, and they're just... You get people insisting that the shamans are the greatest thing ever. You get all these new elemental options. Anyway, Just reborn? Fair enough. Well, in that case, you got plenty of new nifties, and this time you can actually make some use of them, so you actually get to use all of those nice snazzy new upgrades. Like, seriously, PSP version had some frickin' jokes. Like, you can now upgrade all this equipment you can't get until New Game Plus. Have fun with that. Oh, man, the entire Damask tier being locked by New Game Plus was just... Somebody seriously had some jokes. I don't know what they were thinking of that one. I don't even remember if I covered that particular detail in that, like, friggin' 3-hour-long PSP differences video or whatever. But, anywho, so yeah, you can actually do stuff with them, especially stun a lot of things in like 20 different ways, so that's nice. There we go, stun you. Speaking of, you're already stunned, but get stunned more. Also, saving air cell in this version is extremely consistent. It's like as long as you can sort of put any pressure whatsoever, you're going to do just fine. So any particular relics I should be on the lookout for? Not in particular. Most of them, like personally, I think most of the crafted debuff items and whatever else are pretty much better than the relics. Leskers in the one-handed sword category, that's pretty useful. Just because, especially like rune fencers and things like that, conserve MP summon type of units. They get a bunch of benefit out of that one. Once you get access to the forks, I think it was on floor 13 or something, but the Heaven General over there with the Sajra is worth doing. Basically, best staff you're going to be getting pretty much ever. Let's see. I was going to say the shield, but the crafted shield is just better. Dragon shield, that is. Just because you get your free poison casts off that thing. Let's go ahead and squash this guy real quick. Get your evasion out of here. Yeah, it's kind of funny how so many of the relics are just kind of there. All right. Well, I guess Brimstone. Brimstone's definitely... That's going to be in later POTD. Brimstone's going to be insanely good. Like, genuinely better than the entire Jiggler set. Let's see, so finishing Coda 2, but Sword of Board, in your opinion, is better to finish Reborn before trying to envision. Depends specifically what you're looking for, which I know... Could you get any more vague? But if you're liking the sort of like back and forth and whatever else, it does get more and more intense until you get to the coda sections there. So that part Reborn will continue building up on. If you are starting to stall out, there's really no harm in starting One Vision again. They're kind of their own standalone experiences. So yeah, you're perfectly safe going down that route. What the hell am I saying? Route. Anyway. So yeah, you're perfectly safe starting that one. I mean, you can always circle back later, worst case scenario. It's not like you're necessarily missing that much. Especially considering if you're in Coda 2 and already burned out, like, man, it is... You got a ways to go. So yeah, there's no harm in, like, hopping back and forth there. Let's see, Brimstone, my beloved, yeah. Stinky Set Brimstone is stupidly good. I have a feeling they must have had some sort of Rambo fans on the staff for that one, because you had every single other bow getting nerfed. Like, I don't mean in the archer nerf, because you know, archers are pretty freaking good in that one after you know how to use them. But it's specifically every other bow, like the Ix Camilles. For those that weren't around for the PSP days, imagine a bow that not only immediately just like doubled your damage potential just by, you know, the fact that it existed, that you immediately got access to elements. It was one of the first bows that you could get a hold of that gave you access to elements, which basically was just like the entire last third of your power progression as far as weapons went. The critical ability guaranteed that you would always break somebody's arm upon firing it, so even if they didn't die, they couldn't do anything for an extended period of time. And on top of that, they were one of the first upgrades that you could get. Like, it was stupidly good. And on top of that, you could just go immediately into the very first training map that you ran into, right out of the tutorial, and just immediately grind it up until you got the bow that you upgraded into the Excamelles. Sure, technically, a failable craft thing. Also, the save and load button is right there, so, you know, you do with that as you will. So yeah, no shock that that went away. But let's see. Yeah, like, genuinely, like, I remember I even made a video on this a while ago. Like, if you compared every single elemental option and whatever else, all of them technically get more powerful as far as the relics go, but there's nothing as good as the stuff that's in the crafting books. Like, aside from maybe Brimstone. Like, they're just that good. It's just Breach plus anything will always be better than Element plus anything. And or, you know, Stun that's available in absolutely every single weapon category. Except for guns, because apparently they could make the guns, but not make them stun. Well, whatever. I guess long gun, as far as relics go, that's kind of up there, because that's one of the few that is the exception to the rule. Because that one genuinely is one of the only ways that Fusiliers are going to be able to do much. Still kind of surprised how overrated that class is. It's like, they can throw items, and the Beast Tamer can do that since, you know, 200 hours ago. They can shoot things really hard, and the Archer could do that several hundred hours ago, and dramatically better. Alright. Now, quick thing here. Let's go ahead and get rid of his sure shot real quick. Yeah, that's one of those little quiet benefits of the Juggernaut in this particular instance. Because, like, Intimidate, there's a lot of things that, like, that would have been a guaranteed hit right there. So Intimidate does have a lot of little kind of quiet knock-on effects. So in retrospect, slow or not, I like that thing. See, I like Fusilier, but it's mostly just the sprite designs. Yeah, fair. I wish the dagger and pistol build got more, and it's weird because it's better. It's dramatically better than it ever was in, you know, in previous versions or whatever, but it's still just kind of there. I mean, I guess, okay, style-wise, the weakest was SNES, but mechanically, like, their placement in the story felt really cool, because you suddenly got this person with this weird weapon that nobody else could understand. If you gave a pistol or a rifle, which there were only, like, I think in total 3 in the entire game, if you gave those to anybody else, they didn't know how to use them. They would pick the rifle up and use it as a club. That's, like, one of the funniest things in that classic version, that they would just sort of try to pistol whip somebody instead of actually try to shoot the thing, because they didn't know how. But then, yeah, like, when you got the class, they would refuse to ever switch back to anything else, which is kind of a weird choice. I'm guessing in order to do the pistol whipping thing, that's what they had to do, but I don't know. Anyway, point is, though, those probably the worst looking ones, but the coolest mechanically speaking, because they felt the most unique there. But then, yeah, they got way more stylish in PSP and then had nothing going for them, because, like, speed was very heavily punished in that one. You had you had the unfortunate thing of them having the slowest reload time in the game by a very, very wide margin. I don't know how many people were around for the Fusilier only run, like, friggin' over a decade ago now. But yeah, that was one very, very boring run. Anyway, so yeah, not much going on there. In Reborn, they got the ability to throw items, which was kind of nifty, and you'd think the whole split element thing with pistol and dagger would do something, but it's one of the very few overlaps between two types that have no reason to be used independently. It's like they don't really get any advantage going pistol and dagger aside from maybe the ability to parry, but Let's see. I'm sorry, I beat San Bronza and POTD in Chapter 4. What all is left? This is a huge question. Do you have video on this? If you beat San Bronza and POTD 4, then you've mostly done everything unless you feel like going back in time. Do you feel like doing the time warp again? Exactly. See, what would you say is the hardest fight in One Vision? Palace of the Dead 113, I believe. Or not 113, I think it was 93. One of the ones with a 3 in it. I had it listed somewhere. Sorry, it was a very oddly specific one. It's one of the bigger ones in POTD. Specifically, just because if you don't have a lot of charm use on your party, you can get very easily numerically overwhelmed, which isn't exactly the best case for, you know, this is genuinely the most difficult. Yeah, I will say I was a little bit surprised how comparatively easy Coda 4 was. But then again, if you've gotten that far, it's not exactly like you need the extra difficulty by that point. Like, there's really not much that could be done there. Like, they're already dramatically harder than they were in PSP. It's just, you know, the mechanics only stretch so far. The only reason that it worked better in Reborn there is just because everything's a lot more, I guess, free-floating, for lack of a better term. It's like... how do I put this? Like for example, poison in this one is always, it's improved, but it's still going to, for example, always be 20 damage per tick. Health has been adjusted so that this is generally still a threat no matter what, but it doesn't necessarily scale up as much. Whereas, like in something like Reborn, you know, 10% is 10%. But again, you know, just slight limitations of engines and whatever. Even though it's technically the same engine if we want to really get technical about it, but whatever. It's like it is, but it isn't. How descriptive. Let's see, Coda 2 was by far the most frustrating for me. That Roderick fight was annoying. Yeah. It was pretty difficult. I mean, like, I guess, I will say, though, because you have so many more options, it definitely was... I know for me personally, it wasn't necessarily as frustrating, but that's largely because you could also control Warren. So you didn't have the sort of official version's problem of, and then the old man decided to go punch the Antichrist in the face. Like, you know, he doesn't, especially like in Reborn there, like, oh, I'm sorry, you know, he doesn't have MP. He's gonna walk up and try to poke the giant Demon King with his stick. Like, just wait a sec, old man, what are you doing? It's like, be patient for just a moment. It'll be fine. I swear. And then he gets completely just thunder-dunked before you have a chance to do anything. Let's see, I had to make half my team naked clerics all casting BOS so I could run over to Warren's dumbass. Fair. It's why he was ranked where he was ranked in the tier list a while ago. He was the only one in the liability tier. His class is amazing, but he himself almost ends the world out of sheer stupidity. Let's see, do you need the installment weapon to win things, or does it help a lot? Which version are we talking? Also, I apologize that it's kind of janking out here. Not entirely sure what's going on with the audio. Yeah, the one thing, the emulator really does not like the thunder effect. If anybody ever sees that particular thing, it's why a lot of times I liked recording off of original hardware instead. But yeah, if we're talking the Ogre Blade on that thing, I'm assuming we're talking about Reborn there. So in Reborn, it was given the unique function of being the only way to sort of make a true custom class kind of thing. So like you could just take two classes and smash them together, which is all nifty and such. It's not really required for anything. It's just kind of cool. You know, put Terranite skills over on an angel or something. Good old Warren, smartest man who almost caused the apocalypse multiple times. Everyone's got to have a hobby. His are just a bit more involved than most. But and yeah, we're getting closer to the end here. As, we'll be having a busier day tomorrow. Yeah, so if we're talking like roles that the OB in particular played for the different versions, basically it's just for one vision it's just a cool weapon. The actual body snatch mechanic actually got switched over to a completely different thing. The Snapdragon mechanic still exists. So the way that the One Vision handled it is that body snatch, since it doesn't really serve as much of a function in the PSP engine here. It got moved over to two necromancers that hang out in the woods. So it's on the Cypher Dagger. So you can get multiple copies of the thing. If you want to, let's say, body snatch skills over to a unit that shouldn't have them. So for example, like let's say you wanted to take a lizard and you wanted to body snatch anatomy onto somebody or something. If in a lot of cases they still might not necessarily be able to use them, but there's certain cases where cross-classing is allowed there. So something like that, they can be useful for. Maybe you just wanted to have some weird axe fairy or something. I don't know. I'm sure there's uses for it, but since it's kind of oddly specific, you can get them in unlimited quantities in the woods. The OB itself is used more as a just way to complete the ogre set, more or less. Whereas the Snapdragon mechanic is actually a reward for completing San Bronza and the way harder version of the Wildwood. So, like, Wildwood and Ovi is... It's quite a thing to actually get through. It's not really the grinding spot, since you don't really need one of those. Basically what it does is that it's like a genuinely increasingly harder area. With unique prizes if you decide to go carry on far enough. So like let's say how you unlock the one map that's just like a vertical hill with a bunch of dragons on it. So in this particular instance, it would end up spawning in with, let's say, a Gremlin Fusilier, and it's like, oh, you can get a Rimfire way earlier. You can get yourself a Fusilier way earlier. You can get a Gremlin variant of it early. So that's that's a whole bunch of cool little nifty things you can find there if you're able to actually get to that point. Whereas, let's say, actually, we should probably stagger this guy. Whereas, let's say, if you actually go and complete the entire thing, then you get a, you basically get a Knight of Lotus Snapdragon, and then if you complete all of San Bronza, then you get a Spear version. So that's all well and nifty. There's a reason Warcrimes Deneb is so enamored with a guy? I guess. I always thought she had more of a thing for Canopus. He's the only one that they've got a weird little nickname for. Granted, I don't know how many people would really like to be called Cantaloupe, but anyway. Yeah, listen to that choppy sound. Delicious. It's so crispy. Deal with you. Deal with you. Yeah, ninjas are just so fun in this one. Like, yeah, they've got all the durability of a friggin' pillow, but still. Very few things are able to shut down as well as they can. Alright, one more on you. But alrighty, since we will be wrapping up in just a little bit here, again, we're pretty much wrapping it up on Vice here. Since we're just about there, next fight's going to be relatively quick. If anybody has any questions that they wanted to ask about the mod or whatever else, feel free to throw those out there. Since originally the whole point of this whole thing was supposed to be more of a Q&A about the mod itself, but it seems like everybody that showed up already knows about it, so there's got to be like a couple of y'all out there that don't. So dang good, though. Kind of feel bad that I overwrote that the save for the Unicorn Overlord run, but also, in retrospect, it probably was a weird one to start off on. Like, as far as showing off what this mod does well, probably should have started off with like remaking the team from Triangle Strategy or something. It's like, here we go. Here's if this game actually had options, this is what it would look like. Alright. Throw you over here. A bit of a side note. I wonder if there'll ever be a possibility to bring back one of the features that original TO did to any of the other versions. Because the pickup mechanic was really, really cool, but for some reason they just never did anything with it. So these streams and videos are very good for increasing awareness. Videos are have found this mod, and thank you for many hours of enjoyment. Well, I'm glad to assist with that. Yeah, anything I can do to get more folks playing this thing, because hot dang is it good. Seriously, if they would just take what One Vision did here and just learn some additional stuff from it. Like, it's one of those reasons I was praising, stuff like Sword of Convalera as much as I did, because like it was the closest that I saw to something more official like this, where the focus was entirely on just having ridiculous amounts of variety and just having fun with mechanics. Just how does the stealing work? Basically same way it did in PSP, but better, where it has a sort of unique table for every single character, and you roll for a dice roll to go and pocket one of their items. However, the list is going to be unit specific, as in like every single unit has basically a whole little hidden backstory in this one of just like little things you find in their pocket, which is just kind of amusing. Like earlier with Aerosol, when she was there during the boss fight, you start off with a Justice Tarot card, then some lightning crystals, then her class mark, then I think it was, I forget, there were some other items. There's a bunch of like little treasure items and stuff. Like if you pickpocket wizards, you can get a golden snitch. Occasionally, if you, I think it was Zapan that drops the eye of the tiger if you pickpocket him. But there's just all these little bits and pieces. Most of it is either consumables or just neat little, kind of storytelling items that are just primarily for selling. But occasionally you see stuff like if you try to pickpocket a griffin, you'll usually get an air crystal, which you can then use for let's say, going and buffing somebody or something like that. You can use it as a sort of consumable instill item. So let's say, what do we got here? So we got Canopus' turn coming up. And so let's say we wanted to go throw one of those on him right now. Say we got a dark crystal, or actually no, we got an air crystal over here. So we'll just go ahead and just toss an instill on him. Like, pickpocketed one of those from Gamp's Griffins earlier. Just, there's a million little things like that in this one. It's so dang good. It's like, it's one of those little touches that make it feel so dang complete, And I want to point out, by the way, it's like this is with back attack and stuff like that, just because he can't get good footing, it's in the rain. All that stuff still feels like it's affecting him. It's been so dang fine-tuned for so long that the accuracy just feels right, the armor just feels right. Everything just feels like it should. give him a little bit of blindness. Yeah, we don't need to extend his movement range. It is a little funny that movement range was never intended to go as far as it does, so they probably had to do a little bit of extra tomfoolery to make the game not do what it does in this one, which is where it actually will stutter a little bit whenever you try to use Feather Step on somebody that has maxed out movement. Because it's just sitting there trying to process all the extra tiles. It's like, hold on, I was never made to move this far. Then again, as far as stealing goes, I guess technically you also have the MP stealing mechanic. That you can draw MP from either friendly or enemy units. Sometimes it matters, sometimes it doesn't. Neat little mechanic all the same. Anyway, he's almost dealt with. As the emulator struggles with the rain. Come to think of it, a little bit of an extra note here. Out of curiosity, do any of y'all, by any chance, ever play this with the HD mod on any of the newer Retroid models? Because, like, I usually play this on the Vita, and, you know, original version works just fine, obviously. But, like, when it comes to the HD mod, I've repeatedly wondered whether there were any improvements as far as the actual HD mod goes on that one. Because even on a Steam Deck, it stutters, so... Like, when it rains, I mean. Let's see, so one question that is unrelated, but with the Vita shop closing, what would be your top picks to buy in it before then? Let's see... XCOM Vita, probably Jeanne d'Arc, obviously Tactics Ogre's on that pile. For sheer novelty, that version of Wordlines compared to the phone version. Oh, probably don't load it, save it instead. Let's see what else. It's kind of a shame that the MGS2 version that was on there isn't available anymore, because that definitely would have been on there. Sultan Sanctuary. Let's see. Armored Core 3, Silent Line, and Last Raven, because the portable versions are amazing. Risk of Rain and Binding of Isaac are really good on the Vita. Vagrant Story, as well as Shadow Tower. Those would be over on the PS1 side of things. Trying to think if there's anything else specific. 'Cause I'm pretty sure everything else that I've got on the Vita is modded at this point. I'm still genuinely surprised that the RE4 version that they modded onto the thing is not garbage. Like, seriously, it's wild being able to play Into the Breach on that thing. Alright. Yeah, actually, you know, I think we might have to just end it here, because the emulator is just screaming for its life right now. Yeah, I think we'll just go ahead and cut it there. Okay, so that is going to go ahead and be about that then. So, yeah. Anybody have any other questions before we wrap it up for the night? Since apparently, again, we'll have to figure out what's up with that emulator for next time. Why is it doing that? Just gonna give it just a sec. God, it sounds like when you leave the window open, but it's only like... It's like if you only open up the back windows in a car, it's just like that where kind of sound. No, I don't... No, it's not that. It's the emulator just being all jank. It wouldn't... Your headset wouldn't affect it. No. It wouldn't interfere with the signal to that extent. Alrighty. Let's see. Yeah, you can even hear the shop menu just screaming for mercy. Hold on, what? Alright. Let's see here. Yes, I think that'll go ahead and be about that for right now, then. So, thank y'all for stopping by. I think we'll go ahead and cut it. This potato says hi as well. And bye. Exactly. Alright. So thank you guys. I will see you in the next one of these things, whenever that might happen to be. And yeah, hope everybody has a fantastic day. And seriously, if you have not tried OneVision, go do it. If you don't know how to install it or have any questions, I made a thing a while ago that was just go on YouTube, install OneVision. It'll be there. Okay, it's the one that says the glorious HD chicken of your dreams. That one. But yeah, it'll explain how to do everything from installation to making sure that all the extra features work, to how to get it officially, to how to implied ways to get it unofficially. And anyways, should be everything that you need there. Okay, so y'all have yourselves a good one. Thank you. Take care. Have a fine evening. Hope none of these storms or anything else are hitting y'all, and take care. And